what we're going to be doing and what we have been doing here for the last several days is coming out as a certified advisor to teach you the new functions and workflow of version 3 in Service Autopilot. So if you haven't had a chance to check out forms in Service Autopilot, this will be a great introduction in version 3. So what I'm going to do is open up the screen here and break down some basic functionality. So this will be a somewhat in-depth video, and then we will do an additional video to get into the right into the weeds of actually tweaking out and customizing these forms on a higher level. But this should get you going and get you up for success right out the bat. So the first thing I'm going to do here is pull out the screen and show my screen in the full view. So this is going to be our forms. It's going to be under marketing forms. This is a new area of V3. You can obviously switch back to V2 if you're not comfortable with this. Moving forward, pretty much everything that we are doing is going to be in V3. So first thing we're going to do is going to go in and add a form. So obviously this is completely different. We have the ability as Service Autopilot built out some basic templates here for basic estimate, cleaning, contact us, lawn care, net promoter, post service, and some team forms here. So what I'm going to do is go in and create a blank form right here. And I'm going to call this my test form. Facebook Live, and hit OK. So that's going to actually just open up and create the actual form itself. Now you can see where it is a little bit different and some of the stuff is actually the same. Everything in V3 is kind of standardized across the left-hand side of the screen. As you can see my cursor here. Then there's 3 different areas. We can design, we can configure, and we can publish. So those are going to be the 3 areas, and I'm going to break it down for you. One of the cool things here is when we get to the publish area, it will actually let you know things you suggested in orange should fix or that you must fix before to actually publish. So it's actually a great way to protect you as the end user to make sure you have a solid product. So very similar to the other option where you click and it inserted the different images and different things on the field as in V2. Very similar here in V3. So the first thing I do is pull in a header here. And when I click into that, the label here, I can go in and type that in. So I'm going to make a copy of our phone intake form that we just recently put on the marketplace for free to show you how this would work. Or actually, we'll make this a estimate request and show you how that would work for your website. So first thing we did is we added in the field. Under edit, we can add some things in here. Next thing to notice under advanced, it's CSS class. So that is our cascading style. So this is something you probably don't want to mess with, but if you have a web designer that you can get in here, they can go in and style and break the columns and different things into chunks and make it visually look however you want it to look. So that is a huge benefit that SA has opened this up to web developers, but definitely outside of the normal person's skill set for sure. So I would just ignore that unless you have a actual person that knows what they're doing in there. So we're going to go back to fields, and we've got several different options here. So I've got paragraph number, short text, long text, drop down, and divider. All very similar from V2. So we're going to go in then and basically go in. I think I'm going to do some advanced fields here. So we've got an estimate request. I'm going to want to know the person's name. So we're going to throw that in here. And when you click into it, we have first name and we've got last name. So that is going to be the top 2 areas in here. And we can go in and make those required as well based on the required field, and field mapping is already based on last name. So if we do want to require the field of last name that's there, and what we can do if we go back into first name, we have a placeholder text here. So this is a label. This is the description. So if you wanted to say enter, actually not under description, but placeholder text, enter first name, you're able to fill in that box to make it a little bit easier here. So that is another area of functionality, but we have the label and then we have the description that would go right above that as well. So not really applicable first and last name, but just trying to break down some of the functionality for you here. And you'll notice, just as I talked about before, it is already mapped back to first name and last name. So a lot of the connecting the dots, at least in this part, are already done for you. So we're going to go back out to fields now and grab probably a phone, and we're going to select the phone type. I'm going to recommend cell phone because that's going to work for two-way texting and the other features. And we're going to add that in, and I'm going to want a email. I'm going to do this for contact email because we're going to probably default to that in the automations and different communications. And then I am probably going to go in and grab address. And this is going to be the service address because this is the area we're going out to do the estimate for. Now, billing address will be added later once we create that lead or client. So now the cool thing with most of this here is it's already built out and it's already mapped back. So this is a lot less work for the end user, for you and I, and we can go into state and we can go in and signify if we want it to be, let's just say I am in New York, and we can grab that. So there is a lot of different options here of different options for the state on that as well. So in our service state here is what the custom field or the field mapping is going back to. So that gives us that option right there. And the postal code is obviously tied into postal code. So we're probably going to want to make these guys required. So we'll click those there. So now that we kind of have their general information, we're probably going to go in and maybe add a divider. So this is right here. And you'll notice it really didn't land where I wanted it to do, but I can click these arrows and drive that down to the area I wanted. So the next thing I'm going to do here is go in and create a field for a header. And we're going to put this in here for estimate request 4. And then we're going to go in and to field, and then we're going to add in, let's go into with some check boxes here. So what we're going to do here is click back into this, and once we're down into this, we can do the different options here. So we're going to go into add this. So lawn mowing, fertilization, and spring cleanup, just as an example. So now we have these options. So a little bit different here with this, we can go in now and apply tags, but you can't do it on the main screen. So I'm going to show you under the rule settings how to do that. Now we can also associate custom fields in here with the text if we wanted to. It really not applicable for what we're doing in this example. So we're going to hold off on that, but the idea is you do have the ability to do that. So we've got our checklist here, and actually it looks like I may have deleted that. So let me add those back in here. All right, so we've got a couple options here as a proof of concept. Now, as we're going in here, we can go in and also add some additional things in here. So you've got address, email, you've got paragraph and short entries. So maybe an example of long text entry would be is going to enter in here, and we'll click on this, and it could be going in, so long text on the label. We are going to call this estimate note or special note, whatever you want that to be. But that is a way to go in and put that in there. And where it says enter text, we could say enter special estimate notes here. But obviously probably would not be required, but we can do some field mapping here. So we would want to go in and possibly grab it in for billing notes, custom field text. So what the maps or V3 does is it basically forces you to map a text to a text field and a number to a number field. So if I wanted to make this a number, it would not let me. But if I went in and connected that to desired change in database, obviously that's not what we'd be doing here, but you would create a custom field for estimate notes, and that's how you would tie that back in here. And we can set a character limit or no character limit as well. Once again, advanced is that CCS class, so you can customize your webmaster, can customize the look of it. Now, these are very mobile responsive forms as well. So I've got an estimate request for first name, last name, cell phone, contact email, service address, estimate for, we'd obviously list these out. So that is some of the basics of dragging and dropping some of the fields here. And they're all pretty straightforward here. We can also put images, the ability to take attachments. So that's kind of a cool option. So we can go into attach files, attach property pictures. So a lot of our clients go out and require property pictures for an estimate, so they actually don't have to go out there. That's how you would tackle that. And under fields, let's see if there's anything else. A Wistia video or YouTube video, you can embed a video in here as well. So that's a personal touch, works out pretty nice, especially if you're using for internal with your employees. So now that we have that, we're going to go back into edit. And when we click on edit here, it is going to, in this field, it's going to show us everything that we had here as well. And then under rules, so you can dial in and customize this, but under rules now, when we go in and click on this, we can do a click on submit here as well. And we can also go in and add some rules. So if the checklist contains all or one or more or contains none, we can go in and then tag or remove a tag or jump to a certain page. So it gives us the ability to apply tags, different logic, and we can add different pages down here to kind of choose your own adventure based on what they click or don't click on these tags. And then what we can do is when we click in here, it gives you the ability to actually assign the tags based on there. So once again, our naming convention of tags is going to be pretty instrumental when you have a lot of them. But the idea is we can add tagging in here as well. So on a really high level, that's kind of the idea when we set this up. Then under settings here, we can go in and basically change the theme of the buttons and the different view of it. So once you kind of get the form the way you want it, you're going to scroll to the right here on the next area. And if you want to display when forms submitted, so you can have a simple message, you can have a document, and this links into your Service Autopilot document editor, or you can redirect to a website. So this is the confirmation of the thank you page once the estimate request is submitted. And then the last thing you really want to do is hit next again, and it's going to say, hey, your checklist has an empty field rule, and your checklist also has an empty action. So cool thing is here, I was doing this for a point of just example, but it's going to force you to go fix these issues. So this is what I was talking about. So contains, select, lawn mowing, then add the tag, and we're going to go in, and once this pulls up, we'll actually be able to pull up the tag. So what you're going to do is go in and create the logic. If they check this, then apply, say, this tag. And we'll go to next, and it's going to yell at us again because we didn't fix the other issue. So this issue here is suggested. It's not saying you have to, but the checklist mapping should be addressed. You can go in and click on it and fix it. So the great idea here is I didn't purposely do it, but obviously in the live video, I didn't click all the buttons, but it's great because it will force you to do that. Now, under warnings here, that is the warnings. Now we other have another option of form options, and you're going to want to select whether it's for the website, mobile, office, or mobile and office. So in this base example, I would say this is for a website lead capture. And once we publish it, it's going to give you the ability to use the hosted form, the embed form, or the source code. And it's going to give your webmaster the ability for HTML, JavaScript, or copy to CSS to style it in those advanced options. So it really gives you a lot of great options here as well. So I'm going to select the website and go to publish, and my form has now been published. So now it gives you the ability to go in and grab the different options. So I'm going to go in and grab this copy here and paste that in my URL. And obviously we didn't do a whole lot to style it, but just a very basic example of an estimate request with a ability to attach property pictures. So if we go back into this now and X out of this, so let's just say, for instance, a cool feature here is if you're in here and you go back in to re-edit it and you lose the page, or you get off this, or you slide too much. I do it occasionally. I get out of the screen and I potentially lose everything I saved. Or if I get in here and I start updating this and I'm like, you know what? I don't like what I've updated. The form continues to save as we go. So if you wanted to revert back to a previously saved, the previous saved version, you could do that. So what happens here is if I go under advanced options, it gives you the ability to copy the form and delete. But if I go in and edit this form again, and I go in and I want to update it, I can go in and adjust a few things and be like, oh my gosh, I really changed my mind. I don't want to do that. What you can do here is under the, I believe, the edit tab, or maybe rules. Let's see here. This is something we just realized, but it was pretty cool at the Simple Routine when we realized this, that you can go back into, and I believe it actually may be under the publish form options. Let's see, maybe under configure. It actually didn't go into the configure here outside of that. So you actually can do email notifications, account management. So whether we're updating to replace all the fields, do not replace fields. And this is where your account matching, your duplication checking is. So we can do email matches, first or last name and email, first or last name and email, client matches or other, and then you can build that out. But this is your duplicate checking, which works really well. And here's your tag settings as well, either update options or account match under the update account here. So replace all fields or only new fields. But I can actually see here if I can get back to the one area I did want to show you before I close out the video, because it was pretty cool. We've got the ability to go back to under advanced options and revert to the published. And maybe so I'm not too sure. I'll make another video on it, but it was something we just discovered in the last day or two. But the ability basically to go back in and revert to the last published version was pretty significant, because a lot of times the team would go in and make some changes and then realize that maybe the decisions they made were not the ones they wanted. So hopefully this helps with V3 forms. We're going to be going in and doing a little more advanced training based on the different tags and selections, click on submit, and some other things like that. But high level overview of how to actually manipulate the fields, add them in, and get some of these advanced fields and widgets in here. Then we're going in to edit when we click into each one of these, so we can go in and manipulate it. And we're going into rules. So click on submit or any of the other options to go in and build some logic around that, such as rule number 1 contains lawn mowing, apply this tag. And then under settings, we can go in and customize the way it looks. And then once we've got it, we've driven to the next tab where we're going in and configuring. And the next version is going into publish with warnings and then form options based on where you want to actually publish this form. So hopefully it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up.